Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our review lesson on the philosophy of Hegel, which is the philosophy of spiritual consciousness. I thought I would put together a little overview of Hegel. I mention him frequently, so I thought I'd do a little bit of an overview. And in just 8 steps, you'll have a picture at least of the philosophy of Hegel, which is the philosophy of spiritual consciousness. How do we get to genuine spiritual consciousness? What does that involve? And I've got the chart, the blocks numbered, so let's take a look at the chart. And if you go to the bottom, we begin with number 1, sense certainty. And Hegel says that we all do. We all begin with the wrong impression. We all think that surface reality is the true reality. And initially we all make that mistake, and it is a mistake. Surface reality is not the genuine reality. Now, you notice that on the arrow it says that it will encounter its opposite. That's the case with our suppositions, and that's what these are really. These are sensate suppositions that have yet to be verified as the truth. They are just sensate impressions in our mind, but through the process of go to block 2. The bottom right, through the process of Aufheben, the true concepts can evolve through becoming. Our supposition encounters an opposite. The two will work out a synthesis, and so it's the process, for Hegel, it's the process of Aufheben, the process of becoming, through negation. That our initial sense of certainty is negated by its opposite, and through that process, eventually a new truth will evolve, and our task is to keep working through that process to eventually reach the level of concept, the genuine, true concept, which is an idea, an eidos idea, a manifestation of consciousness. But before we go there, we go to 3 in the middle of the page. We go to our mindset, because we're always building on our mindset. We're always building on our conscience. We're always building on our body state. And that is phronesis, forming a spiritual mindset, or in other words, forming a conscience. And that's through a continued interaction through the process of negation, and in addition to that, through dialogue with others. That also involves dialogue with others, and through dialogue, we start to unfold the eidos idea, that is the universal side of the particular sensation. Our sense certainty is a particular, but within it, it contains a universal. Through dialogue with others, we discover the universal eidos ideas that define our genuine reality. So from mindset 3, we go up to 4 at the top, which is noesis. And we talked about that a lot in the Gospel of Mark. It's spiritual perception. We do discover the eidos ideas of the kingdom. It becomes the work of reason, and it becomes the work of dialogue with others. It's the work of reason and the work of dialogue. And that is called reaching noesis, when we realize that, wait a minute, it's our ideas that are the real. sensate impressions are not the real. The real is the ideas, the universals, the ideas that we discover. So at the level of noesis, we start ascertaining the eidos ideas that make up the kingdom, and they are the genuine real. They provide the universality that abbreviates all of the particular sensate suppositions. Now, just discovering the ideas is only part of the work, because Hegel says they are joined together in an interrelated network, and noesis has to move to block 5, which is katanoesis, or katanoese, which is understanding. We start understanding that there's a structure that links all the eidos ideas together. All of the eidos ideas are linked together in a organic whole, and we've discussed that before, but it should be a circle going out from the divine and returning to the divine. And it's usually a circle diagram, but that's the level of katanoese, that's the level of understanding, when we not only have reached the ascertainment of the eidos ideas of the kingdom, but we also have put them together in an interrelated, holistic, organic model, which we call a sign model. And then we can actually say that, okay, now we have reached 6, the level of spiritual self-consciousness, which is sun eidese, which combines sun with and eidos ideas. So what it is we recognize our selfhood within the sign model of the eidos ideas. We reach spiritual self-consciousness where we ourselves and our spiritual identity is a part of that interrelated sign model. That's called sun eidese, which is sun in Greek, meaning with, and eidos, ideas. We find ourselves within the structure of ideas. Our self-identity is also gained within that structure of the eidos ideas of the kingdom. And once we realize that, then we are challenged in a very motivational way. We are challenged to posit or to put forth our sign model and to struggle for recognition from other self-conscious selves to create a community of truth, to affirm and define truth as a believing community. And I say believing community because remember, Hegel said, all genuine philosophy is theology. All genuine philosophy is God talk. Hegel was a believer. All genuine philosophy is God talk. So now we want to posit our sign model of God's kingdom to struggle for recognition and confirmation that what we have formed is the genuine true, that our sign model is a sign model that will gain recognition within the body of Christ, the body of believers. And that's stage 7 called na thesai, or to posit our sign model, to put forth our sign model within the realm of positing, which for Hegel is the realm of spirit. Where do we live? We live in the realm of spirit. Now, once we put forth that sign model, once we posit the sign model we have put together of our best estimation of the true, of the way, once we put that forth, it's going to encounter that same process again. You go back down to block 2, you're going to run into some activity of negation, because as we struggle for recognition, it's going to pass through the work of Aufheben again. But this time it's a sign model working through the negation of Aufheben. Others posit their sign model of the true, and through the dialogue, through the dialectic of that working together and moving through the process of becoming, which is Aufheben, that's the process of becoming. Then we keep raising our level of a true sign model for the kingdom to more and more mature, genuine representations of the true. And we're involved in that struggle for recognition all the time in the realm of spirit. We're always trying to renew the mind, and through the renewal of the mind, we move to step 8, and 8 is the return moment back to phronesis, back to that forming of a spiritual mindset. Whenever we go through this process that Hegel gives us, he says eventually it loops back to the inner self and the renewal of the mind. We are involved in what Paul called the putting on a new mind, renewal of the mind. And we therefore go through step 8, return moment, and once we return back to phronesis, the forming of our more mature mindset, then we're ready to start over again. We have refined, matured, improved our spiritual mindset, and we go back to step 1. We begin with looking at the sensate world. What does it say to us now? How do our suppositions change? How do our attempts to grasp the true change? They will change dramatically as we continue to raise our level of forming a spiritual mindset. So we will start it all over again. We go from new sensations to new process of becoming. And that new process of becoming is a process of negation again. What we posit to be true is challenged. And then as we work that out through dialogue, the process of becoming moves back to mindset again, a second time through, and we again work on renewal of the mind, imprinting the mind with Christ, more deeply imprinting the mind, which in Greek is tupos, to imprint. We imprint the mind more deeply with the image of Christ. And once we modify and mature our mindset, we're ready to go back to noesis, spiritual perception. So the second time through, we're going to have a little bit different look at ascertaining the eidos ideas, because we will already have a core collection of eidos ideas. So now we're looking at the second time through, we start building up subsystems to those eidos ideas. What do they abbreviate as minor eidos ideas? We start forming a hierarchy of those eidos ideas. And we get a more mature collective of the ideas that make up the kingdom, some will be major categories, some will be minor ideas abbreviated under the major categories. So as we go through a second time, noesis changes a little bit, and therefore, when we go through block 5 again, understanding changes a little bit also because the structure gets modified. We have different concepts being linked together. This is the one that probably changes the most because the ideas that we already had get changed in their interrelationships. Some become identified as major categories. Others are concepts that fall under those major categories. So understanding comes up with a whole new structure. Our sign model might have all kinds of subsystems in it then. You know, we start adding things to that. Remember, Ross gave us a sign model, which was a circle and had the eidos ideas that made up a biblical worldview. But as we work on that sign model, and Ross said we needed to all work on it, we will add subsystems to it, we will add content to it, and we will add major categories, subsection concepts, and it will take on a more mature relatedness. So block 5 changes also. And the second time through will certainly raise us up to a more powerful soon say, going through 6 again, a deeper sense of spiritual self-consciousness. So you can see what I'm talking about here. As you go through a first time, a second time, a third time, you're going to modify your sign model. You're going to modify the concepts, you're going to modify the structure, and you're going to build a more elaborate sign model of the kingdom. Because you're going to discover new truth, the more that you engage with study, worship, and fellowship, and engagement with the scriptures, you're going to gain new ideas. And the big thing you're going to do is you're going to start building a much more sophisticated sign model. That's the main thing that happens. I can speak from experience on that because my sign model of the kingdom has changed over the years as I've gained more content through the teaching of Jürgen Moltmann. And it holds true for everyone. You know, as you mature, you're going to add content to the system, to your sign model, with subsystems and systems even beyond subsystems. So you'll have a very elaborate sign model as you continue to grow in spiritual self-consciousness and spiritual wisdom. So it gives you a good overview, though. Hegel was all about a philosophy of spiritual self-consciousness. And basically we have Hegel's system here in 8 steps. Sense certainty, the process of becoming through negation, forming a spiritual mindset, noesis, spiritual perception, kata noese, understanding, and then sunidese, spiritual self-consciousness. And then we enter into the work of positing, of living in the realm of spirit in steps 7, and then we reach step 8, return moment, and go through the circle again, and again. So it gives us a quick little overview. Not bad, because that's a decent length of time. Okay, that's going to wrap up this little overview of Hegel on a philosophy of spiritual self-consciousness. Hegel's philosophy of spiritual self-consciousness in 8 steps.